This kind of feels like coming home in an odd way. Been on something of a hardcore FPS odyssey recently, but it was Hell Let Loose that first opened my eyes to this genre. But after doing tours in Squad and Post Scriptum, I actually feel better placed to evaluate this game again some months after my original video, and a link to that in the top right corner or in the description if you prefer. The devs haven't been resting on their laurels, of course. There have been a whole host of patches and 2 major updates added to the game since my video. And before we get started, I just wanted to say, full disclosure, the developers gave me a code to access the game for the purposes of making videos just like this one. Perhaps I should, though, briefly reiterate for new viewers, Hell Let Loose is a hardcore FPS game, not looking to emulate the likes of Call of Duty or Battlefield, so banish those from your comparisons. This is a game where bullets hurt. This is a game that pivots around communication and teamwork, conducted in the most difficult of situations. Lone wolves looking for solo glory will die often and with lots of complaining. Find a good server, and clan servers seem to be especially good, with like-minded players who will want to work as a team, and more than half the enjoyment of these titles is the camaraderie and sense of achievement you earn for yourself and for each other along the way. So how does it look to revisit Hell Let Loose with new eyes? Well, honestly, I was struck with how nice everything looks, even the rainy new map, and more discussion of that later, but there's an obvious effort put into giving the game a real cinematic and atmospheric feel. There's something about the lighting and shading that really sets it apart from Squad and Post Scriptum. There are nice details that didn't pop out previously too, things like how the game deliberately hides the interface during movement to give you a pure, uncluttered view into the world. It pops back the moment you do something different, but it's an impressive and impactful sort of design touch that really helps set the tone for the game. As I said, there have been 2 major updates, along with a number of smaller patches since we last looked at Hell Let Loose at the end of last year. Primarily, those updates, numbers 4 and 5, brought new maps to the game, the beautiful and quite urban-centric Summer Eglise, and most recently, the dank, leaden, sodden world of Purple Heart Lane. They really couldn't be more different in tone. And just a quick aside to say, if you do enjoy this video, please do tap the thumb up button. It helps me with YouTube and discoverability and all stuff like that. So if you choose to do so, then thank you. It is appreciated. For all the bright sunny day of Summer Eglise, the new Purple Heart Lane really is the hard yards and difficult situations. Effectively a single road that must be pushed along with a series of bridges intersecting. It actually represents a precursor to the famous Battle for Carentan. To play is to attempt to push water up a hill, but in an oddly good way. The bridges generate natural choke points where attacking and defending is made incredibly difficult. Using armor to punch through is both effective and terrifying for everyone concerned. If you've not had the rare, heart-racing pleasure of crouching in a roadside gully filled with water while an enemy tank trundles past above your head height, then load up Purple Heart Lane and try and grind out a victory. It's a brutal battle where every yard seems to be toughly fought over. It serves to contrast some of the more woodland-heavy maps in Hell Let Loose. One point that I raised in my recent post-scriptum video was the lack of set dressing inside the buildings, giving them a kind of film set backdrop feel. That's something that, on reacquaintance with Hell Let Loose, I notice isn't an issue here. All the enterable buildings have furnished interiors and feel true to the world that they're trying to convey. Of course, like the Omaha Beach map of my original video, Purple Heart Lane is steeped in as much realism and true-to-life authenticity as we've come to expect from Hell Let Loose. There is a developer post on Steam that details how maps and aerial imagery are used to design a map with as much accuracy as possible. Difficult, arduous, and incredibly atmospheric, I found Purple Heart Lane to be a welcome and impressive addition to the Hell Let Loose map lineup. There are other additions, of course, a change list far too long to go into here, and I'll link everything in the description, of course. But some other high points are things like the introduction of progression to the game, not just levels but the idea of unlocks too. It's pretty light going and reminded me of the unlocks in Rising Storm 2 Vietnam actually, where once you have a few levels you could change your character's appearance to something more world-weary and not quite so my first day in the army. All the unlocks seem to be for the third-person model though, something that you obviously don't see in a first-person game. So it might be nice to see similarly in-keeping unlocks to the textures on the first-person weapon models at some point too, or at least fingers crossed anyhow. Another addition to this patch is the inclusion of an Apex-style pinging system to allow some non-verbal communication. Needless to say though, in this game, communication is paramount, so having a mic and listening to orders is, of course, utterly preferable. but the ability to have short-lived pings in this game is welcomed for sure. Player numbers are pretty consistent for the game also, not on the squad levels, but also not a million miles off. Was actually impressed to see that the game had carved out its own dedicated community of players, and I certainly never had any problems finding populated games. One previous criticism I mentioned in the last video was the sound design, how it was something of a mixed bag. Some sounds, such as thundering tanks, felt true to the world, yet other sounds, such as gunshots, felt oddly flat and served to undermine the experience somewhat. I'm happy to say that the sound design has indeed improved, though it does seem to be very much a work in progress. And if you pick one of the recent patch notes, the new sound design engine has been integrated and tested thoroughly. From here we will start to overhaul and polish the sound and mix treatment within the game. This is similar to an Unreal Engine upgrade. Now that it's done, we can begin working with the new tools. This allows for better directionality, clearer highs and lows, and location-specific sounds. The experience of playing does mirror these changes. The world does sound more placed somehow, like the sounds are coming from real locations that make sense to you as you play the game. However, as they say, they are yet to start their overhaul of the actual mix and treatment. The watermark experience of the first-person weapon sounds does still feel underwhelming when compared to expectation. I'm happy to see progress made in this regard, but as of now, Post Scriptum is still the audio benchmark. Performance feels in a similar position to before, that being just on the OK side from my old system. I'm sure newer machines will maintain OK frame rates with some wise option selection, but I wouldn't expect CS level FPS numbers. I'm happy to see that the strengths that I found originally still ring true on my reacquaintance with Hell Let Loose. The hardcore nature, waiting on spawn points that necessitate running back to get you into the action, all serves to make you value your life in the game, and it all helps set a tone and cadence to the overall gameplay. It's into these tough situations that you and your squad mates try to do their best to complete their objectives. Smoking open ground or flanking to avoid pinch points. Your squad leader is most effective when they are actively making choices, corralling their own troops while coordinating with the rest of the team. I'm not much of a squad leader. I'm still too much of a newbie to really feel confident in that role, but there's real pleasure in being a cog in a larger machine, struggling with the conditions and the terrain to do your best for your fellow squad mates. It can be a very rewarding game, but you do need to find like-minded players to go on that journey with. I may be repeating myself, but in my experience, clan servers seem to offer the best chances to find players who are looking to play the game as it's meant to be played, to really have it shine. I'm glad to see Hell Let Loose is making confident strides towards its final form. It's managed to bring a flavour and style to the World War II hardcore FPS genre that feels unique, and with their attention to real-life details, thoroughly authentic. I'm very interested to know what you think of Hell Let Loose and the other games mentioned in this video, so if you have some powerful thoughts and feelings, then let me know by leaving a comment below right now. I of course read every single one of them. If you did enjoy the video, please do tap the subscribe button as it helps me keep growing the channel and making videos in the future, just like this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.